Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm a PhD student at the University of Cambridge in applied mathematics. Right now, I'm about 23 days away from submitting my PhD thesis. But before that, I was an undergraduate student studying mathematics, also in Cambridge. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how the exams work there and what are the best ways to prepare for them. Obviously, this won't be directly relevant to a lot of people who are not doing those exams right now, but I hope that this video will help people who might be either thinking about applying to study maths at Cambridge to see what it would be like, or just for any maths students at university that are interested in how to prepare exams because the structure might be similar in other universities. So, the exams in Cambridge maths follow a very unique structure. Um, it's a bit complicated to understand, so I'm not going to go into all the details of how they actually calculate your grade, but hopefully this will give a meaningful idea of what the process actually like. And it's a bit different in first year compared to second year and third year. So I'm going to explain how it works in first year, and then how it works in second year, which is really the same as third year. But I'm going to use an example second year because I actually didn't do proper third year exams because of COVID, so it was all a bit different. So I'm just going to compare first year and second year. But first, the common thing is that the exams are only at the end of the year. In June, it's like a week, maybe like it's a bit longer than a week from your first exam to your second exam. And actually, in first year, we had like a few days in between some exams, maybe even a weekend. In second year, it's a bit tougher because it's 4 days in a row, or at least it used to be when I was doing them. And I think that that's still going there. And you might be wondering, well, 4 days of exams, how many exams you have? Well, we actually only have 4 exams. Like, and that's the same in first year and in second year and also in third year. And now you might be wondering, well, you only have 4 exams, so does it mean that you only take 4 courses? And that is not the case. We take more courses than four. Indeed, like in first year you take 8 courses basically, and then in second year I'll get into that later, but most people take 8 or more courses. So for first year, how it works is that every exam has questions from 2 courses. So usually, well, they're basically split so that in each exam there's one course that is what we call pure maths. So it would be like numbers and sets or analysis. And then there will also be the other course will be applied. So that could be dynamics and relativity or differential equations. Yeah, so they are much so that you traditionally some people are really good at one thing. I was pretty good at applied, but not so good with pure maths. So then I would lean into the applied questions. And why can you rely on them? Well, you cannot entirely rely on them, but what's a bit unique about the Cambridge Maths exams is that you don't need to answer all the questions. Indeed, it's basically impossible. And for the exams in first year, they pick like you can attempt as many questions as you want, but there's only a maximum number of questions that are going to be factoring when computing your results. So they will get the highest scoring question from the ones that you've attempted. I think the maximum was 5 or 6 questions. And there's also short questions and long questions. So the long questions are worth more points and the short questions are worth less points. And so they would pick some of the short questions and some of up to the maximum of the long questions. And because of having 2 courses, you can basically um, do very well on the choose the questions that you can do well from whatever is your strength. And then for the other course, you can try to do the short questions, which are easier, and you can also, and you should attempt the long questions. But um, it is not because there's only a maximum number of questions that get graded. It doesn't matter if you're not um, able to do all the questions, especially in your weakest course. So that's basically how it works in first year. So you do that in 4 days. So at the end is you've done four exams with the eight courses in total, and then there's basically like a really strange calculation of how you actually get the grade. But in first year, it's only those exams. That's everything. There's no like coursework or anything like that. And what you've done through the year, it basically doesn't really matter other than how it has helped you to do well in the exams. So it can be a bit tough. And for me personally, I was really scared because I was the first time I was doing exams in university, and I thought they had gone horribly, and I was really scared of them. In the end, it wasn't so bad. I did quite well. I could have done better, but I did much better than I expected. And so that's like a general piece of advice for everyone that might be starting university is like, don't think that just because it seems that it's gone wrong, like that it's not actually, like, it might not be reflective of what happens, because it's the first time that you're doing these type of exams. So it's just different to what you're used to, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad because of the way they work, and they're gonna get a score, and they choose your best performing questions. And then the second thing to remember is that it's all going to be graded based on what the other students do. So if the questions are really hard, then they're being hard for everyone, and so you're just gonna be graded based on that. So likewise, if it's very easy, don't get too excited about it, because then everyone else will have found it easier. And so that's first year, and second year is basically the same, except that there's in general more courses that you could do through the year, and it's not that you have to do all the courses, because there's maybe like 16 courses or something like that. So you just choose the well, I'm not going to go into details about how you should choose the courses, but you come up with a combination of courses that are going to give you enough questions to attend in all four exams. So all four exams have questions from multiple courses. Not all courses are in the four exams, but most courses would be on three of the four exams that you do, or something like that. And then basically it's the same strategy, um, but I think there are no limits in second year of how many long questions are going to be graded. There's still short questions that you can attend if you don't have any more time to do the long questions, or you don't really know how to do them. And then basically it's the same thing, but what's important here is like, well, um, you can be more flexible with your choice of courses. You can just lean into what you find interesting. And even if you've taken a course that is useful and interesting for you as like a student, it doesn't mean that you need to take it to exams, because it might not help you to get a good grade. So that's something important to remember. And obviously when you are a student there, you discuss that a lot with your director of studies, the choice of courses that you are going to have. And the other novelty in compared to first year and second year is that there's also these computational projects that they're not mandatory, but they're highly like they highly encourage us to do them, because the marks that you get from them, they just get added to your total. And of course, and everything gets a scale based on what the other people do. But there's really no downside other than it takes a bit of time to do these computational projects. But other than that, it's basically as in first year. And in second year, the exams are literally like 4 days in a row. You start on a Tuesday, you finish on Friday. So yeah, it takes a bit of energy to do them. They're all 3 hours long. That's the same thing as in first year. And so that's my final piece of advice, like practice doing a lot of exams under time conditions. Just go to the library and set a timer to, if you're not doing math stripes, whatever exam you're preparing for, what's the time limit, print an old exam if you have access to them, and then try to do it as if it was the exam. Ideally do it at the same hour, like the same time that the real exam will be. And that's really how I ended up getting a first in second year. and doing much better than in first year, in part because I practiced those things more. So that's basically how it works. And I should say that this is only like specific to the mathematics undergraduate course in Cambridge. It's different for the masters of mathematics, and it's also different for other courses in Cambridge. But this is very unique to the Maths Tripos, and that's basically how it works. I don't know if anyone will find this video interesting, but if you did, please let me know in the comments. And as always, do leave me any suggestions for future topics that you like discussed in this channel.